Commitments for Clemson, Texas A&M, and USC. Let's talk recruiting.
Locked On presents The Portal, the daily podcast covering college football recruiting and everything NIL. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back to The Portal Podcast, where you get your daily recruiting, NIL, and transfer portal scoop. I'm your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football recruiting analyst. Thank you for making the Portal Podcast your first listen here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Clemson adds Dre Quinn, 6'4", 225 pounds, out of Greater Atlanta Christian and now Buford High School. He just transferred. Defensive end, absolutely a stud on and off the field. Great kid, athlete, length, works hard, loves football, rep after rep. He sets the tone at practice. This is what it's supposed to be at the defensive end position as an elite recruit. When I went to see him practice earlier this spring, I'm like, this is why he's being scouted right now. Florida was there. I believe Bama was there. There were all kinds of guys. Notre Dame was there that day. Clemson beat out Notre Dame, Texas, Bama, Georgia, Florida. Like, everybody wanted this kid for a reason. And give credit to Dabo Swinney and his entire organization for continually going to the greater Atlanta area and all over the state of Georgia, for that matter, and plucking out defensive linemen. I don't know what it is in the water in Clemson, South Carolina, but they just find defensive linemen. Dre Quinn is a dude. Personally, I think he's a top 50 kind of talent. He just needs to continue to progress in terms of technique. But watching Dre Quinn at the practice I was at, the effort is there. He wants to get better. He listens to his coaches. When you are very coachable and you have the measurables he does, like his wingspan is ridiculous, you are the kind of guy that every school wants. He has a chance to be an NFL player. So congrats to Dre for figuring out where he wants to go to school, and congrats to Dabo and his staff for getting the commitment. Speaking of defensive players and top-notch athletes all around, I don't know if he'll definitely play corner, but I assume Mike Elko will place Brandon Arrington at the cornerback position. He's from the San Diego area. They beat out the Ducks, 5-star DB receiver. Heck, he could play running back. Wouldn't make any difference if you wanted to play Arrington at free safety. That's fine. Reported sub 10,300 meter times. Reported sub 4.3 40 times. And his film is impressive. I don't know how fast he really is, because film's hard to really grade, just pure speed, but it looks video game-ish. I would love to see what Texas A&M does with him if he gets acclimated to the defensive secondary. Did they find a way to play Arrington on offense? Maybe at wide receiver? Definitely got to find a way to get him involved with special teams, whether it's a gunner, whether it's punt block team, maybe he's the return man or a combination. Elite player. National top 50 conservatively. I get it. Everybody in the country wanted him. Penn State, USC, Texas A&M, Oregon, you name a school, they all went after him. But the Aggies get it done. And that's the third guy in a few days. Samuel Roseborough out of Clearwater, Florida, big offensive tackle, picked the Aggies. That's their first O-line commitment. They also added KJ Edwards out of Carthage, Texas, one of the most elite running backs in this class. Very athletic kid out of East Texas. The Aggies moved up to the number 2 class, according to Rivals, just edging out Notre Dame, and these rankings will go back and forth, but their class is tremendous. Give credit to Mike Elko and his staff. They're recruiting from coast to coast, New Jersey to California, and they're starting to pluck kids that are really, really important that schools like Texas wanted, LSU wanted, Florida State, Miami, Oregon. They're doing a tremendous job. Congrats to the Aggies. USC, though, they are the team with the number 1 class, and they added Luke Wafle. A little bit of a surprise out of the Hun School in New Jersey. He commits to the Trojans, defensive end, probably going to be a power end, might move inside a little bit or eventually become a 3-tech. His brother was originally a signee with Michigan, but transferred to Penn State. Some thought he would end up at Nittany Lions. Some thought he would end up at Ohio State, but nope. He's going to go all the way to Los Angeles to play for the USC Trojans and Lincoln Riley. Wafle's a player that I think is really good, and he's going to be able to play, I think, multiple spots and especially be a nuisance on passing down. So USC not just adds another player. By the way, they're 70, I think now at D-line off the top of my head. That class is really, really good in the trenches, and that's what the Trojans needed. So tip of the cap to them as well. Running down the rest of the commitments here for the second edition of the Recruiting Blitz here on the Portal Podcast today. We also have David Swerzel, O'Day High School in Seattle, famous program up there in the Northwest. Some thought he was going to be a Husky, but he decided to go down to LA himself. But the other school down there, UCLA, he's a 4-star recruit. We got Kentrell Davis out of Georgia Tech, out of Parker High School in Birmingham, headed to Georgia Tech, wide receiver out of Parker. This is a program that just won state. They're really on the rise. And this is a great kid. I had a chance to meet him last summer. Kentrell can really run. He's got some length to him. He just needs to fill out his frame. Nice pickup for the Yellow Jackets. Savorian Martin, cornerback out of Palestine in East Texas. He has committed to Texas Tech. That's a player that I don't know a lot about personally, but he's ranked pretty high. And this is the more important part. Texas Tech normally doesn't get some of the higher rated kids in East Texas. And East Texas is famous. It's always had a ton of great players. It's always had a ton of athletes. But Texas Tech doesn't normally get them. LSU, Oklahoma, Texas, Baylor, everybody else kind of gets those kids. If Texas Tech consistently not only gets players out of East Texas, but some of the upper echelon guys, I mean, they're trending anyway, that program's going to take a big jump and be an even bigger factor in the Big 12 than what many think they're going to be this year. Thank you once again for making the Portal Podcast your first listen each and every day. Truly appreciate it. Please hit that like button, that notification bell, and subscribe to this podcast. We'll see you again soon on the Portal Podcast.